Serious people who have been cheated on. How did you find out? In the middle of an argument she opted to drop the bomb that she was F someone else. Ugh, that's the F worst. Hope you're happier now. Less bitter and jaded than I once was. So, we break up. He starts dating another girl. No biggie. I don't mind at all. She was one of my friends from high school and I introduced the two. Well, he always had long, shaggy hair. And before we broke up, he got it cut. New girlfriend makes her Facebook cover a photo of them kissing. Still don't mind. Do what you want with your own damn Facebook. I don't give a crap. I scroll past it again later that day, and something just seemed off. So, I look at it for a couple of seconds, and realized his hair was long in the picture. There was no way he wasn't cheating on me, because I introduced them after we had started going out. Man, was I pissed off and sad. Opening up closed wounds are we? I was 21 and dating a 30 years old. I had met him on I and was super happy to have finally met a good guy. My best friend at the time started liking his best friend and they ended up dating too. This was awesome. We were all friends and always hanging out together. About 3 months into the relationship, I called my best friend to hang out and there was no response. I tried again in the evening and still the same. We had plans to hang out, so I kind of got worried. It had been snowing like crazy, and I was hoping she hadn't gotten in an accident or anything. I called her work to see if she had been in that day. They said she was scheduled, but never made it in. That got me even more worried. Since I don't drive, I had a friend drive me to her house and upon arrival, I noticed her car in the driveway. I knocked, but no one was home. This confused me because she lived in the middle of nowhere and needs to use her car to get anywhere. I got more and more worried and texted my boyfriend in hopes he or his friend had heard from her. He told me she was probably fine and I was overreacting. Maybe I was overreacting, but I told him if I hadn't heard from her by the next morning that I would call the cops. A few hours later she texts me with this exact quote, "Why the F did you call my work? Do you know how bad that looks? By the way, I'm not missing. I've just been ignoring you. Oh, and I'm out of town with your boyfriend at his cabin. Let's just say he's not your boyfriend anymore. I never wanted to die so badly in my life." She accidentally sent me a receipt. We'd been living together. I had started a new job a couple months earlier and was sometimes working so late some nights at my company that I just slept in the office. One Thursday I knew I would be sleeping at the office and had mentioned it a few days earlier. That morning, she asked if I was still sure and to call her right away if that changed, since otherwise she was going to stay late at work and order food. Around 1 PM I got an email confirming a takeout order I hadn't placed. That's nothing weird, since we usually just order food with an account under my email. And I'd figure my girlfriend had just ordered lunch at work. But then I see it's going to be delivered by our home address instead of her work address. I thought she just forgot to change the address and was about to call her to let her know when I see the order looks like it's for 2 people, 2 sandwiches and 2 drinks. And one is regular, while she only drank that. I hadn't been suspicious of anything happening with her before that day, but it just struck me as weird. She never ordered anything from that place to her work before, and they didn't seem like they'd even deliver that far. After about an hour of being distracted by it, I called her work and asked for her with a fake name. She was out sick. Now I'm fully paranoid and start thinking what I can do without just driving home or calling her cell to ask what the fuck. I decide to use a program we had called TeamViewer to see if I can find anything. It allows you to share desktop screens, remote control, etc. Close bracket. I figure if everything's fine then I can just laugh it off as a mistake, since it leaves a little notification window when a computer has been remoted into. I go into her home desktop computer, immediately see the window with the order, so I know she made it from home. Doesn't seem to be using the computer right then. I see there's also an incognito window left open and switch to it. She texted me instead of him with a picture of her breasts and a note, "See you tonight." I was a good distance away and was no way I was meeting her that night or week for that matter. This girl was garbage and abusive, though so happy it happened, as now I'm happily engaged with 2 kids. Ain't wedlock grand? Tomayo and happy as can be. Wow. Good thing it worked out for the better for you. Things like Christmas morning now remind me how lucky I am. My ex was pretty much the worst man alive. We cooked Thanksgiving dinner for my parents one year, and after we ate, he decided to take a shower in the middle of the day, which lasted for over an hour. Later that night, he casually asks if it's okay if he goes over to his friend's house to play some video games. He comes home at 8 AM the next day. He swore that he smoked too much and drank too much and passed out on his couch. His friend and the friend's girlfriend, who was also a friend of mine, backed up his story. Less than 3 weeks later, he leaves for one of his college classes. I get a text a few hours later that he was so tired that he almost fell asleep on the road and decided to take a nap in a rest stop, and he turned off his phone. Yeah, there were no rest stops between our house and his campus. He finally comes home the next day, in my car no less, and decides to confess that he's cheating. He met her while working for my father. Never told her he was in a relationship, and the kicker was that she was married. They separated after he beat the snot out of her, and she moved herself and her 3 kids in with a friend and met my boyfriend a few weeks later. I found her phone number, called her, and we had a long talk. He told her lots of lies about how he lived with his ex-girlfriend who still had a thing for him, which was why she could never come to his house. How he had a long and distinguished military career and was close to finishing his degree. She was so disgusted by him that she cut him out of her life completely, even changing her phone number. Cut to a few weeks later when a cashier at a local gas station lets me know that he told her his other girl was pregnant. I have no idea if she really was or not, because she wouldn't talk about it and basically had no contact with him after finding out about me. The kicker was that our landlord at the time wouldn't let us end our lease earlier because we were good kids, and he hoped we would work things out. He slept on the couch, and I slept in our former bedroom until the lease ended. I needed a piece of paper one night. He told me to grab one out of his bag, and I totally snooped and found a college essay that he actually wrote about this chick. It was all about how she was the love of his life, understood him in ways that no one ever did before, was supportive of him in everything that he ever did, and was just the perfect woman. He even went so far as to compare her to his last ex, i.e. me, who never helped him with anything and was basically the bee from hell. Me, the girlfriend who paid all the bills for the 6 months he was out of work, helped him write a business plan for a business that he never got off the ground, and even helped him with his coursework. It was pretty much the worst thing I ever read. I'm sorry you had to go through this. Christmas hugs. Appalling. Confusing. But follow me here. I was cheated on by 2 different guys from 2 different, but fairly close, cities a year or so apart. They didn't know each other, nor did they have anything in common. So I find out guy 1 is cheating. Heartbreaking. Humiliating. Infuriating. I leave him and refuse to go back to him, though he keeps in regular contact. Get back in the saddle. Go on a Cupid. Meet guy 2. Awesome. Having fun. Getting along when guy 1 calls me. He's having lunch with the chick he cheated on me with. It seems that she's banging a new man. It's my guy 2, the one who had left my bed only 20 minutes before. Guy 1 recognized his name and rather exalted position from my description. So both of my guys have cheated on me with the same woman. I asked guy 1 to hand her the phone. I told her that yes, I was seeing guy 2, but that I would not be seeing him any longer, and that she was free to have him. That woman makes me nervous. If I ever suspect that a beau is cheating from here on out, I'm going to call her first. She called me the next morning. As heartbreaking and shitty as it was, looking back I'm so happy she did. At least it's as classy as you can get for that situation. Once my girlfriend sent me a picture, via phone, of her getting double teamed by 2 guys at a party at a local college. Pretty direct way of saying I'm breaking up with you, apostrophe. That's when you use that pic to your advantage. Well, I maybe kinda found out by sneaking into her Facebook and checking messages. Shady? Maybe, but hey, I'm no longer getting cheated on, haha. She was kissing me differently. I jokingly asked who she learned that from. She told me. Got sent pictures to my phone one day of the girl I loved seeing someone else's D. Among other lewd photos of her from the dude she was cheating on me with. I'll never forget that image. Got the feeling something was wrong. Things weren't great the 2 months leading up to it. But I had just lost my grandfather, and I thought my grumpy attitude was being reflected at me. Then one day things seemed to shift. Got a text at 1 AM saying she would need me to pick her up from work the next day. I work nights. Her days. Immediately I thought something was off, and started asking questions. She gave me some story about how she was stuck at a friend's party because he was sobbing over some girl and wanted a shoulder to cry on. They were friends prior to my meeting her. And to clarify, this is not the guy she cheated with. They worked together, so he was supposedly gonna bring her to work in the AM. I knew she was out that night, so the whole story wasn't completely out in left field. Just didn't sit well. I picked her up the next day and she knew I was upset. I confronted her, and she kinda laughed and said, trust me, our lives aren't that exciting. The following day she was distant. Said she was sick. I didn't get a day off till 3 days later. I was lounging around, and she was still keeping distance. The big tip was that her phone was blowing up, and she was keeping it fairly guarded. 2 things that weren't the norm. That nagging thought turned into a molten ball of lead in my gut. Once she left to go upstairs to get laundry, I noticed the phone was there. I had to know. Stupid emotion got the best of me. I hate myself for doing it, but I'm glad I did. I unlocked the phone, and it opened to a conversation with some guy. He was saying he had some booze and trying to get her over. I scrolled up just to see the part dated days earlier when they were talking about getting a hotel room the night she was supposed to be at that party. I lost it. We fought for days. I moved back in with my dad. I stupidly tried to work it out with her, but I found out months later that she was still seeing the dude and refused to tell me about it. Afterwards I bought a motorcycle. WEEE. She left me because she was not feeling comfortable with our relationship anymore. 6 months later I meet a friend at a party, and after a few beers he tells me that he was F her while we were still together and talked her into breaking up with me and get together with him. Didn't work out though, so later she tried to get me back like a maniac, which pissed me off even more. Edit. Not sure if everything is correct. English is not my first language. His brother told me. Then another relationship the girl he was cheating with told me. Yeah, I dated some class acts back in college. When she thought she was erasing the SD card to the security system. Here's a hint. FAT format doesn't erase the video files on the security system. It just erases the file name table. Magicrescu and busted. To the curb. She told me that she was cheating about 3 months after breaking up with me for no reason. I continued to fawn over her, thinking I could fix the no reason, until she told me that she cheated, was now dating someone new. On my birthday. Hope in retrospect having closure on the issue allowed for a good birthday present. Yeah, in retrospect. However, at the time I was just a pissed off 18 years old who thought drinking half a bottle of raspberry Absolut vodka was a good idea. Nearly a decade later, I still gag when I smell the stuff. Her sister told me. Guy she cheated on me with came up to me and told me about it. And how did that conversation go? If you don't mind me asking. It ended with him punching me in the face. So, not well.